or on YouTube, just quickly drop a message in the chat box, say hello. For those of you who have eyes, you'll see Andrew's not here. Unfortunately, Andrew's not feeling super well. I don't know if we're acknowledging this publicly yet, but Andrew's fallen ill. So he's in bed recovering, staying safe, hopefully getting better. Um, we'll see that. So what I did do is I pulled Nico on this morning. Nico, do you be able to do a quick introduction, who you are, what you're doing? Obviously, you're a coach with the Property Academy, but you also pretty much run the brokerage. So you may want to give us a bit of a rundown.
Yeah, it's good. You've just basically said everything I was supposed to say. So I hope all of you got your coffee. It is called a coffee chat for a reason. So make sure you get yourself some coffee. But yeah, like you've said, Dave, I'm a property coach with the Property Academy, and I like to just take people through the whole journey of how to invest into property, look at different strategies, etc. And then also, obviously, at the brokerage side, I'm trying to is a good word, to get in property investment opportunities as well as the investors together so that they can actually move forward faster. So it is a nice job to have because you can look at all of these nice opportunities that comes through, and you also build a lot of relationships with people that has the funding to go and do it. But there's also a lot of challenges, but we can talk about that as we go along today.
100%, man. And personal portfolio, what are you doing there? What deals are you looking for yourself? Or are you just sort of picking the ones that you like from the brokerage and taking them for yourself?
Yeah, so I think personally at the moment in a whole capital raising frenzy. So everything that I'm currently looking at is physically just building capital. So that would be your flipping strategies. So we're buying and then renovating and then selling them off, getting a bit of capital, and then making sure that I get everything in a row for my next cash flow opportunities, multi-lets.
No, it's awesome. Yeah, you got to build that capital lump sum up again. I know it's one of those ones that I tapped down into during COVID. Obviously, needed to pull out of the capital. Some of the shares were liquidated, so
Yeah, then so quickly that your capital actually goes down the drain, isn't it? And then you find out, oops, I should raise a little bit again.
yeah, you sit there and you're like, yeah, I feel like I've got a good amount of money just stashed away for a good deal that comes across, and then like 2 3 months of COVID, you're like, okay, that's almost gone.
I need more.
Yeah, it's actually kind of crazy, and it's one of the things I've been exploring recently. Is just like the financial like dieting and just reducing spending because the amount of money that we spend on a month-to-month basis is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um, I remember early on I had coaching students that I spoke to, and they had a income requirement of 100,000 rand each, and they were a married couple. So they wanted a monthly income of 200,000 rand a month. I'm just like, how do you spend that much money?
Yeah, I think this is actually a good time to reevaluate your current and personal situations and see where you can downscale on expenses that you've just been spending on a monthly basis. That's actually not necessary. And you should do this on a regular basis because before you know it, you've built up this expense list that's great
Yeah,
for nothing.
yeah, and you don't notice it. It's that $5 subscription here. It's that like $10 donation over there. That 100 rand to this person over there, and it just stacks up. And before you know it, 4 or 5 grand is flowing out every month because yeah, you think you need things that you don't actually use.
No, but actually, exactly that. But we also actually, I think you and I had this discussion last week, about just checking your current will and portfolio with life insurance and
Hmm.
things. And especially in the current climate and things that we are today, it's actually a good thing to just review, recap, check that everything is in place, but also what is it covering, what is it not. I think, especially in my own situation, I found out, that a lot of my life insurance type things was actually only covering, to settle my bonds. But if I
Yeah.
did get ill or something like that, it was never covered. So and then there is actually other options that are available out there that can make it, cover all of the aspects that you require. And it was done at a cheaper value as well as what you would
Yeah.
normally get for with your bond if you take out a bond. So I think those things are eye openers, and I think everyone should look at that.
Yeah, I think especially like you're talking about a house bond, so you probably even had it for like a good couple of years, and like how the market's changed in that sector over those times, it's just worth reevaluating everything. And threatening to leave someone's services, it's always a good way to get a bit of a discount negotiation happening.
Yeah, 100%.
I
Well, in this situation, I think what actually happened was, they didn't even offer all of the other services that I got included in the package that was now much cheaper. than what the
Yeah.
other one was offering at a much higher value. And that's just a monthly rate. And you've been paying that for the last 10 years. And now you see, hang on, there is better things out there. Let's open up your eyes and just reevaluate a little.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's one of those things, and I think we're really bad with it as entrepreneurs. We keep on trying to find ways to build our businesses and grow how our businesses can earn and make more money, but we don't often spend time sort of just doing that home office admin of, are you getting the best insurance prices? Are you paying the right amount for life insurance? Do you have the correct cover to cover all your debt? Because it's if when you get aggressive with property investing, the debt can really run away from you,
Yeah, yeah.
which is an experience.
It's crazy times, that we're actually talking about life insurances and what happens when we die. Those are bad things. I suppose we're supposed to look at them in any case, but I
Yeah.
think it's just a little bit more in our face these days.
Yeah, well, I guess with Rian having passed, and I heard about this morning about someone else that we know passed away, and just it's boy.
Yeah, now it's getting real. It's no more numbers, it's names now.
Cool. Let's quickly run through the events for the next 2 weeks, and then we can probably get down to a few of the other things. Guys, there is the chat box. Please feel free to put some questions in the chat box. I see Kerry Lee's already there putting some questions in, which is good. Just quickly looking at the schedule for the week. So tomorrow we've got a expert advice webinar with help with preferential and Ross Charles on how that's working and what's going on over there. So that's going to be a really fun one. Looking forward to that tomorrow night. Thursday, we've got preliminaries with Andrew and myself, if Andrew's healthy enough. Otherwise, we'll rope in another coach to do a preliminary judging for Invest of the Year award. So for those of you guys who don't have the link, someone will put it in the chat box for me just for Invest of the Year award. Entries are running. Entries close, I want to say, end of next month. So you've only got about 7 or 8 more weeks to get those in. So make sure you got your entry in and you've done your preliminary judging as soon as possible, because we're going to start running semi-finals this month, actually, if memory serves. Nico, does the brokerage have anything going on this week?
Not this week per se. We only got closer to the end of the month. We got the breakfast again at the brokerage breakfast. And then right after that, we have another buying experience. And then the brokerage talk is only on the 6th of August. We had a brokerage talk on Friday that just passed now. So just looking at those dates, the breakfast would be on the 21st of July and the buying experience on the 24th of July.
100%. So if you guys want to find out about the brokerage events, just head to the SAP and Connect page. Again, someone else will put it in the chat box for us. So it'll be out of there. Get in touch with the brokerage, find out about what they're doing. They're always doing something to help introduce you guys to some deals. And for those of you guys who are aspiring sourcing agents, sometimes they do an event to help you guys. I know we're speaking about it on a call this morning that the brokerage and the Property Academy will run a training event around sourcing. So that's something that we'll try to get on the books fairly soon. That'll be a good fun one that we don't have time to do. Otherwise, looking forward a little bit further. Next week's about the same. Coffee Chat on Monday. We got prelims on Thursday again, and then next Saturday we have a Wealth Builder workshop with Jade Barkes, and that's on the 17th. So there's going to be a full-day workshop with Jade. He's going to run the you guys through the fundamentals of property investing, help the guys with portfolios scale up and grow a little. We'll have a nice little team on board to help run the events, answer your questions, get some coaches on board. So there'll be some good fun. I can turn Nico up a little for you, Quibus.
Am I still too soft, eh?
It's fine. I've bumped you up over there now. Should be good. Cool. Nico, is there anything you feel like? I feel like I'm missing something, but the event calendar looks nice and empty.
Yeah, I think there was quite a lot of the events that was a little bit postponed due to the current COVID situations. But at the end of the day, yeah, I think I can't remember anything that you missed out at the moment.
Yeah, I slightly lost my mind today because I just, what is it, maybe 3 weeks ago, finished the calendar for the whole year. And boom, level 4 again. Cool. Let's get into some of these questions, but from Tapelo, let me just see. What are other options I can if I want to extend my property to do some cottages besides a further loan? Okay, so if you want to finance, what finance options are there? I'm assuming. you need money, you increase your house loan. You're gonna have to borrow the money from someone else. You if it's your property, you can't really do anything creative like with an installment sale agreements or seller finance because it's you. You're the only person in this transaction, so I don't see what else you can do. You get private finance tough. I know does some backroom financing, but yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, it's actually a difficult question to answer based on, I'm not sure exactly, is it his property? Is it someone else's property? Is it a property that you can actually subdivide, maybe build on it? Obviously, you're going to need some more equity to get it done. Um,
Yeah.
extend my property to do some cottages beside further alone.
Yeah, so I mean, it sounds like it's his property, so it should be fine. It's an interesting one. Uh, cool. Nico, I'm probably going to leave this question to you. I've just got someone calling. I'm just going to get them to leave me alone for a minute. But from Kerry Lee, question for the day: is it cheaper to get the contract to supply the material, or for you to buy material on a small flip, like less than 50,000 rand? So yeah, it's that sort of question of do you bring the equipment? Do you find the material and do the material sourcing, or do you let the builder have at it?
I think it all depends on your relationship with your project manager or the person who's going to manage that project. I think if you do have the time to obviously spend on that project, I'm going to say it might be good to leverage your own, how can I say, discounts that you might have. So like something like Tile Africa as an example. Obviously, you would get some discounts if you're a SAP and professional or intermediate member. And then you can rather go and buy those materials yourself and rather get those people to just invoice you for the labor that they need to do. But I do think it also really depends on the power team and also your structure. If you're actually having a proper project manager that manages that, I think the process will kind of be the same because you would kind of want the project manager to go and buy the materials and then just oversee the labor and let them just invoice you for the labor. I think in that way you can actually leverage all the discounts that you can get as far as you possibly can. Maybe get your father-in-law, which qualifies for a builder's discount on Wednesday, to go and buy it, and then also go to your Tile Africas and so forth. But there's a lot of those type of ways that you can actually get discounts, which would probably be added or not been to your benefit if you don't do it that way.
Yeah. 100%. I think from my side, it comes down to a matter of return on time. So look, at the end of the day, I think you guys need to remember that builders don't always get the most expensive stuff either. Builders have tradesman discounts; they can get pretty decent pricing on it. What you want to avoid is builders who mark up their pricing. I've seen it before. Builders will go buy tiles, and then they'll charge the tiles will cost them 80 rand a square meter, and then they'll charge you 100. So you want to avoid something like that. But at the end of the day, look, let's say 50,000 rand, 30,000 of that's probably going to be labor, 20,000 of that's going to be materials. How much discount can you get on that? Let's say you can get a 10%. That's 2,000 rand savings that you can get compared to what the builder can bring you. How much time is that going to take you? Kerry, is the other side of the question that you need to ask. Is it worth it? Probably not. Bigger refurb might be worth it, or bigger items in refurb. Like maybe you're talking about a 4-bed house with 2 or 3 bathrooms, and you need to buy 3 baths or 3 toilets. You can probably do something a little more aggressive then. But on a small refurb, you'll probably find the builders are doing it. Where this conversation does get really cool, it's when you start getting to scale and start looking at big ones, because then you can buy larger amounts in bulk. And if you speak to a lot of the guys with big portfolios, we start to standardize things. So I've got the same carpets and tiles across all my buildings, same color paints, because it's less for me to do. But that also means that when I buy paint, I'm not just buying paint for this one refurb. I'm buying paint for this refurb and that touch up over there and that touch up over there. So life starts to spread itself out. But for the most part, like I trust my builders that they're not ripping me off. I ask them for the invoices so they can show it to me. They're not allowed to charge me a markup on the products, but they're allowed to charge me a fee for going to collect it and doing the shopping and the sourcing. They're allowed to charge me that, because that is, from a tax perspective, 2 separate things as well. So that's one way. I have seen people abuse that, but there's always abuse in tax law.
I think if you get to those type of discussions, and I think this is definitely a topic at the brokerage, especially when it comes to project management. I think a lot of people actually don't consider the project management aspect, or they're trying to do it themselves and they don't have the time to do it. And I think we've covered this a lot at the Property Academy as well as all the normal events. As a property investor, what is your responsibility? Identify what you are supposed to be doing, and if you're supposed to be doing finding deals and finding money for the deals, then everything else should be done by some other party, whether it is a project manager or a contractor that is dedicated to do a specific job. And I think people are not at that point yet. So, and
Mm.
we can very easily use the same discussion with regards to people that actually stays in Cape Town, want to invest in Joburg, or vice versa, but they don't have proper power teams in place, or they don't put them together. Now they are actually not in the position to make an informed decision whether I would like to move forward with the property opportunity. And now a lot of these opportunities actually fall through because they actually run out of time, because they feel uncertain on moving forward on such an opportunity, because they didn't have a proper power team in place or a project manager to look after them close to the property that they were investigating. So they find a lot of the problems, but they don't always find a lot of the solutions to those problems. And I
Mm.
think that is the big problem I currently have at the brokerage with some of the investors.
Yeah. Look, I think it also just attests to the general trend. I think a lot of people think building is a lot easier than it actually is. People have this impression that it's easy to walk onto a site and just see what's wrong and see what's happening. And sure, I can manage painters and tilers. Why do I need to play a project manager? It's actually quite an involved process and it actually requires a lot of time. So if you're going to try and do it while you have a job, you're definitely going to burn yourself out, because if you can only go on site after hours, then you're definitely not in a good situation. What I do suggest is be involved in the process. If you can't do it, get someone like Marisha Robus, a property inspector, to go on site and do periodic inspections of your refurbs. But go on site and make sure that you've got a clear handover process in terms of snag lists and that sort of things. If I'm doing a big refurb, I generally want 2 or 3 opportunities for me to go on site, inspect the properties, pick up things that are problems, and have the contractors fix it before they think the job is done. Because the last thing you want them to do is say, oh, this job is done. You go inspect 3-4 days later, and then you're like, no, but you haven't done these 3 things right. And counter to that, I've also had contractors do the weirdest things, and they get granite and they got the granite, but they put the kitchen sink in the corner and they've already cut the holes in. You're like, this is a 7,000 rand piece of granite that you've now cut the holes in the wrong place.
Mm.
So like, these are the things you need to have someone you trust on site, and you need to go and just be involved. But at the same time, I don't think you should jump into the opportunity to project manage your own deal or find your own materials, because it could detract from the value. Because yeah, you spend 5 hours running to builders trying to save 10 grand or save 5 grand, it might not be worth it. You probably could have
Yeah.
done it better, found the next deal.
No, exactly. And that's exactly my point. And I think, you can't project a project that you don't have experience in. So you can't
Hmm.
go and project manage a builder if you've never built in your life, or you don't
Yeah,
have that experience to double check them, because then you're actually not doing the right job. So it really comes down to having a proper project manager who actually has the experience, know what to look for, and can therefore project manage.
yeah. Marisha Robus's book is actually really good on this topic as well. So if you guys do want to be a little more involved in your projects, don't project manage the first few, but get involved with being on site, and then get Marisha Robus's book on how to check for those things and make sure that people think doing things correctly, because it is quite technical. I think people just think it's bricks and paint, but there's some technical details.
But you see,
Uh,
there's an underlying message coming through. I see Edson saying, always be on site when building, guys. Always. There's definitely underlying story happening there.
I don't know about always, but always have someone you can trust. Um, I actually know a guy in the UK who set up webcams on his project, so he could live stream, and he was a stockbroker, I think. So he would sit there doing his day trading, and then on his side screen of it, he had a little live stream of his site, and he's sitting there watching it. I'm like, this is not conducive to your health or mental fortitude. Get a project manager.
No, big time, big time.
Cool. Next question is from Clifford. What are private lenders slash angel investors looking for in terms of returns and security? How long is the length of string? It varies. I would say, and Nico probably agree with me, you're definitely talking low end. You can probably get about 10% ROI to an investor if it's a very safe and secure deal, but most of them are really expecting 15 and above. 14 is probably the more commonly targeted one at the moment. And then security, again, depends on the risk. Remember, these are levers that you can play with. So the lower the risk, the lower the returns. The higher the risk, the higher returns. So you could offer a custom brief or a private bond, as it's less commonly known as, to offer more security. There's admin and paperwork and costs involved in that, so you got to weigh up the costs and benefits. So, and then they're also generally going to be second in line behind the bank anyway. So, customs brief doesn't always mean too much. Nico, from your side, what are you seeing in the market at the moment?
What I see, especially at the brokerage, is that people don't really want to go for deals if it's low, below 15%. I actually got on my database people that listed 30 and 45% return on investments. I do obviously go back to these people and say, oh, well, hang on, I think just be a little bit realistic with this. I think that's a bit crazy. Reconsider and come back to me. But at the end of the day, I think what we should also realize is that the return on investment of a specific deal can allow a certain return on investment. So you should always remember to come to us at the brokerage and say, this is what the deal can afford. Can you advertise an opportunity with a 14% return on investment? I know your minimum is normally 15. And I'm probably going to say yes, because this is what your deal can afford. This is what you can do. Why don't you then provide us with the information? Let's do that. I agree with you. 15% is normally the good one to go for as a standard. And if people need it very, very urgently for a short period of time, I would actually even go to 20%. We've had a couple of them that was on 20%.
Yeah.
Going through to the brokerage, just remember there is also a 4% raising finance fee that we charge. So, if your deal must be taking into consideration our fees as well, not just what you pay the angel investor back, which is something that's important to be aware of.
I think it's also really important that those fees, and whether they're brokerage fees or whether they're other fees that are transactionally related, when you're presenting your deal and you're handing that investment proposal either to the angel investor or to the brokerage, that you break down what the investor is expecting to get, and you break down where they've lost portions, where there's fees are, where there's potential room for them to gain ground or lose ground. Highlight the risks and highlight that, so that when you pitch it to them, you say, this is 15% after all fees, after taxes, after all the other stuff. That starts to push that up a little, make it a little more viable, makes them a little more confident to 15. So and I think that's why a lot of investors are inclined towards leading towards 20%. I think if you want to look at it as an angel investor, 30, 40%, you need some let me just say this nicely, you need some advice, and you need to seek professional guidance.
Professional help.
um, but at the end of the day, the reason that they look for 20%, and I think 20% is a lot for an angel investor, but the reason they look for it is because of uncertainty. If you're going to go in there, you don't have a track record, they're going to want 20% because they're going to assume that you're only going to pay them 15%. So they want to hedge their bets and protect themselves. So again, it comes down to what security that you give them, comes down to what involvement you don't. Nick, I feel like it was you, but a while back you were actually doing sort of fixed returns to some investors. So you're saying, look, regardless of how long the deal takes, we're going to give you 15% return on investment. I don't think it was you, but I also saw someone else saying, look, your investment's interest is 10%, but you're also going to get X percentage of the deal as a JV on the back end. So there's other ways to negotiate it and be a little more creative around your structuring to help give them more security or more upside on a good deal, especially with flips. You get that opportunity.
Yeah, 100%. And I think people need to understand the different payback options that there is for investors, right? Whether you are paying back on a monthly basis on just the interest, then the capital at the end, or you're actually doing both at the end, or, whatever the situation is. I think each property opportunity that you're in with is obviously going to guide this process as well. And I do think, when it is a situation where there is cash flow available on a monthly basis, from the rental income as an example, then probably try and pay your interest back on a monthly basis, because that also reduces the risk for that investor that provides you with the funding. And then you only have to pay back the capital that you borrowed from him at the end of the project. So that always helps. We've had investors actually pays capital portions back every quarter during the process. So they're getting cash flow as well as capital on a monthly basis or on a quarterly basis, therefore reducing once again the risk in the deal as the time goes on for a longer period of time. That's also very important for people to understand.
Yeah, 100%.
But
Cool.
I
I
think
think
going
Nick,
quick. I don't know if we've covered the security portion of that question though.
I mentioned Kristen's brief. We are running out of time, so I don't want to pick with the pace of the questions. Yeah, at the end of the day, security that you can give to angel investors, it's either private, it's either personal surety, which doesn't really matter for anything. But the best way to give guys security on a deal is Kristen's brief. Is there anything else, Nico, that we can look at? You can
Yeah,
look at a
no,
convertible. You can look at a convertible loan. You can do a loan. So if you're doing the deal in a limited company, you can do a convertible loan that, if you can't settle the loan, they can convert that loan value into shares.
yeah. Yeah, no, I think surety is definitely one of the big ones. I think depending on the value of the money that you're also borrowing, it's also going to play a role in the type of security that you're going to be providing, whether it is only a surety ship or if you're actually then registering a bond on the property so that you make sure the money is safe in the building itself. But that obviously comes at normal cost for raising transfer and bond costs.
Yeah, 100%. Cool. I think let's try fire on the next few questions, get back to some events, and then maybe take one or two more. Tapeda's asking a follow-up question. Do you think it's a good idea to divide your seating room into 2 bedrooms, each with its own bathroom? No, in Cape Town, that'll never work. Nico, how about Krugersdorp?
Definitely not on Krugersdorp.
Yeah, Tapela, where is the property? What does the market look like? I can't give you opinions on your property and your market. If I don't know it. So I'm not asking you to send the information in the chat box now because I'd want to do some more research. But you've got to look at the market. You've got to see what your competition is doing in the market and see what there is. That's pretty much the answer I can give you.
Also, just there's actually quite a lot of homework that you need to go and do with regards to
Mm.
what is allowed in your municipality range as well, from a zoning perspective. How many people is allowed on the earth and in a building? And if they only say 8, and you now have actually got 4 people or 8 people already in there, and you're going to go and split the rooms, and it goes to 10, 12, 14, as an example, then you're actually supposed to get permission from the council to be able to operate on that property in that way, and that could become problematic as well. So there's also the legal way of doing it, and there's an unlegal way because you're getting away with it type thing, but that's a decision to make.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, look, at the end of the day, Tapela, sorry, he's got to do some more homework and some more research. There's not really an answer, and Nico and I can give you off the cuff. From Zakila, hi Nick and Dave, when buying a property using installment sale, since the bond will remain in the seller's name, won't it affect their affordability to purchase another home? Yes.
It will, but I think when you're actually in a situation for installment sale that you're trying to get rid of the property, is probably relating to cash flow, and you can't afford another bond in any case. So for them to go and apply for a bond within that time frame that you've set for your installment sale, whether it is 3 to 5 years, I think that is in any case like for them to get back onto their feet. So they shouldn't be applying for a bond again.
Yeah. Actually didn't proofread this one. Okay, so there's also a tax benefit to having the contractor. So this is going back to what we were talking about earlier, because there's also a tax benefit to having the contractor do everything, tax refund. So it depends, Quibus, on your structure and on the contractor structure. In a perfect world where the contractor doesn't charge you a markup for for finding those goods and just charges you a service fee, doesn't make a difference. He's going to pass the VAT on to you. Input, output VAT, it's going to neutralize. Whether he incurs, and if you look at 100,000 rand, let's say the refurb's 100 grand, and you can do 90,000 if you do the material shopping, or if the contractor gives you a bill for 100,000 rand, including the materials, then it's 100,000 rand off your tax bill. Doesn't matter if it's not fair. It doesn't matter if he put a markup on that. And that's what I was saying. There's some people who've done it to exploit tax purposes, but you can definitely up your sort of material costs on a capital improvements perspective if you had them push up the prices. But yeah, you're overthinking this. Cool. So a few more comments over here just around being on site. Nico, I think let's put a really. You're doing a refurb. How often do you go on site?
Because I have a proper project manager there, once a month. I don't go there that often because I get regular updates from my project manager. So I'll on a daily basis basically be aware of what's going on, right? So he'll be
Yeah.
telling me this is what we're busy with. He'll send me photos and updates to it. And it also depends in my situation. I'm busy with a project that's currently in Artis and I'm sitting in Krugersdorp. So I'm not driving 100 Ks every day if I have a project manager. So I'll definitely go there on intervals. I'll have someone, as soon as I decide I'm going through for the weekend, I'll quickly go and pop in there and have a look at the project. But also, I trust my project manager. That's what it
Yeah.
comes down to for me.
If I think back over the past couple of years, of the 40 or so refurbs I've done, I've probably gone on site a handful of times. Most of those are done without without me ever going on site. So it definitely does come down to the team. But at a high level, you guys should be looking to do an initial inspection, obviously, with the builder, walk them through the property, make sure that you're all understanding and agreeing what needs to happen. They generally have chalk, so take chalk right on the walls. They're going to be painted anyway. An inspection shortly after they've started is generally what you want to do. So a week or two in, once the works have kicked off, once they've done all the stripping, and especially once they've pulled all the stuff out that they need to, an inspection there is a good time. And then an inspection before they start putting in things like tiles, bathroom fittings, anything that's hard to uninstall if they make a mistake. So those are generally times you want to do some inspections. And then obviously right near the end, before they say they're finished, a week or two before that, if you can. Depends on the project timelines. Like I've done refurbs that have taken 6 months, and I've had refurbs that take a week. So it's all variable.
Yeah, it's also important to make sure that you actually go through your quote that you received from them and make sure that it's a detailed quote and that they actually split it down per room, per what are they going to be doing. In this room, I will be doing this, this, and this. And then you can also understand, everything is covered. And that's how I've picked up a lot of the times, that they've left out a light fitting that was supposed to be replaced. It might be something small, but they've actually detailed it in such a way that you can actually run through the project from your quotation.
Yeah, and I think there's a nice little trick that I can teach you guys here. The 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 amount of authority that anonymity or a third party has is great. If I've got a refurb going in Krugersdorp, I'd much rather have Nico go and inspect for me than me go do it myself. Because when Nico goes there and he's like, the contractor's doing a bad job, he doesn't feel anything because he hasn't had to build a relationship with the contractor. He hasn't had to do all that stuff. So it's nice for him, for the external party. So if you've got a friend or a family member who's got a really good eye for detail, just have them go in there like, sorry, boss asked me to come do an inspection. I'm doing an inspection for the boss. And then they can have that sort of impartial sort of third party perspective, which is always good. Cool. Maybe just quickly going back to events for a few seconds, just doing a quick recap. So guys, it's a super easy week, nice and quiet. So we got the preferential guys speaking tomorrow night. That's 6 to 7:30. That's a free webinar for you guys to help and join, just to learn about how does preferential vet their tenants, what does the vetting process of tenants look like, and it's not just this is what preferential does, is this is a methodology that you can then take and use and learn from. So that's the idea, is we want to get you inside and see that process and see, because I think they're vetting 50 to 60 tenants a day at the moment, so they're going through some volume, so they've already got some good perspective on that. Otherwise, the only other thing for this week is preliminary judging on Thursday with Andrew and myself. So those are the guys who invested the year award entrance can join us for prelims on Thursday. Nico, any call to actions from the brokerage this week? You guys got a deal that you're looking at?
Yeah, so we currently have a couple of deals. I think just the important thing for us is maybe if people are not receiving our opportunities at the brokerage, that we send out on email, that they should please reach out to us so that we can check if the details are updated or what the issue is. Is it a spam-related issue that is going into a spam folder? Or is it something, that they're actually not registered with us and they are not receiving the opportunity? So my call to action would basically just be, see if you find our deals. If you don't see our deals, please communicate with us, update your details with us, and let's just open up that link to get that done ASAP.
100%. Cool. So guys, make sure you're getting the emails. It's really important. We can only communicate in so many ways, and the new Puppy access, it's even further restricting the ways we can get in touch with you guys. So clear your inboxes, unsubscribe from the spam emails, don't unsubscribe from our emails. Make sure that you're getting the emails that are valuable to you. That's what's most important.
100%.
Cool. So guys, I think a couple more questions. Nick and I do have another meeting to get to, but we'll grab a few more and then we'll call it at that. Yako Roots, would you advise on using a separate paid up property as an additional security to entice investors? Okay, so Nicky, you've got 2 properties. One needs a refurb. One's fully paid up buy to let. You offer security on the fully paid up buy to let to get bridging finance for the refurb.
I
Don't
think
see why not.
it always helps with providing a sense of security to the investor who's going to provide you with the finance, that they know that there is equity available to cover should something goes wrong. At the end of the day, if you actually want to finalize that, you physically need to go and register that private bond, right? In order to make it actually work, or you need to have it in memo of understanding so that it only gets implemented at a certain stage, and then you need to be
Mm.
sure what is that stage, when do we actually implement that, and when does that become enforceable, in that
Yeah,
project. So I do think it is nice, to provide that sense of security. And it also, once again, is going to depend on the value that you require from the investors. Is it something that is a smaller value? Is it something that's a higher value? And then, does it cover everything that you're borrowing? Is also a question you need to ask yourself. If it's just a portion of it, what about the difference of the portion?
yeah. And that's this is why your loan agreements and your MOIs are so important to have them correctly drafted. Because if you don't lay out these divorce terms upfront, you're gonna have a challenge. I think maybe from a high level to give you guys some perspective, I think for me personally, under 100,000 rand, maybe personal security, but I don't like doing that. So generally, no, it's unsecured lending under 100,000. 100 to half a million, that's when I offer convertible notes. So that's when there's a loan for half a million rand. They can convert that loan either to shares or to something else, wherever I want to have them convert that finance to. Half a million and over, then you're probably going to want to look at the customs brief type thing, where they're getting access to security over that property or another property if you wanted to, but you give them that sort of level of surety. The reason you do that is because if it's a 75,000 rand loan and you give them a customs brief over your other buy to let property, for them to access that money, you need to liquidate that asset.
To sell it, yeah.
So then you're going to sell a 1 million rand house to pay a 75,000 rand debt.
Yeah.
No. And the customs brief is, yeah, it's there, it's on the title deed, it's binding, you can't get rid of it. So I don't, yeah.
I like the way you're using the kustingsbrief. It's like the only Afrikaans word you know.
Listen, Nico, I would swear at you, but I don't think I'm allowed to on Facebook.
I just had to
um,
throw that in there.
so, Yako, hopefully that answered your questions over there. And I think that's about it. I see a few other long, complicated questions, though. There's a bunch of people replying to comments and everything like that. It's cool. Maybe we can just wrap with that, Nico. Your perspective on at what prices do you provide what security, and then I think we can call it.
Yeah, so basically we would say, anything below 500,000 Rand, to be honest, we would actually not even go the route of providing, the kustingsbrief route, because we feel, then it doesn't make sense financially to go and spend all of that money. Anything above that, I would start looking at the kustingsbrief.
Yeah.
And trying to get that done. But below that, it's all about your understanding of the project, the time frames. Are you comfortable with that risk that you're taking? But also, we can get the suretyship documents drafted and signed. And some of our investors actually require that. They say, I'll give this to you, but then I want that. And that's a service that we provide. And the person borrowing that money then kind of needs to pay for that service to be offered. So it costs about 1,500 Rand plus VAT to get this securing what you call it, a suretyship document drafted and signed. So it's not a lot of money, but I do think it does really help a little bit. But at the end of the day, if you lose that amount of money and something really goes horribly wrong, then at the end of the day, you probably need to go the legal route and start suing for that finance. On top of that, you're also sitting with a situation whereby you are in a network of property investors. If you do that once, you're probably going to hurt yourself quite badly, to not provide that finance back as you promised and agreed upon it. So be aware.
Yeah. I think Nikki touched on a really important point there. I think it's very easy in property to think, oh, this is all business relationships and my tenant has a lease and my investor has a loan agreement and you follow everything by the letter. Sometimes you also got to operate under some good faith and you got to communicate and have a proper conversation with these guys. If the lines of communication are open, then you can figure things out, you can solve the problems. But if you don't communicate with your investor and say, look, guys, we're running a little bit late on this one, we're just going to keep on paying interest as it currently stands, and you just broadside them with it the one day, then and it's a lesson I learned the hard way. I definitely struggled when I had a deal early on go pretty poorly, and I should have told my investors earlier, and I didn't, because well, it's not fun to tell people that their money's at risk.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the
No,
sooner you do it, the better.
I think that's exactly a lesson for myself as well. And I think communication is always the biggest part of the problem. Making sure that everyone is informed on time, and I think we're all guilty of that from time to time. But in one situation that we're working on at the moment is the fact that we want to sell a property off, right? And currently the tenants that's staying in the property was diagnosed with COVID. So now we can't send anyone to go and view property for the next 2 weeks until that has been resolved as a minimum. So that kind of does put a delay on a very hot lead that is now not so hot anymore after a week and a half of waiting.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely made it a little more difficult. Cool, guys. I think we're going to wrap it up over there. So just a few little reminders about the links in chat. So there's joinsaplin.com/education. You can find out about all the upcoming events over there. You can join us at the Investor of the Year Award for the prelim judging. And if we can just get a link for the brokerage again, you guys can head to Join Saplin or Saplin Connect and get in touch with the brokerage. It'll be good. Nico, any last call to actions from your side?
I think from our side, at the brokerage, there's quite a nice couple of different types of opportunities available, from angel investment opportunities to already converted multi-lets to opportunities that needs to be converted into multi-lets. I'm working on a flip opportunity that's possibly coming through. So we do cover quite a wide variety of different opportunities and strategies that's passing through on our desk at the moment. So if you are interested in these, please make sure that you reach out to us, register, get onto our database, and that you can receive these types of opportunities on email.
Yeah, 100%, Nick. I think that pretty much covers it. I appreciate the time. Thank you very much.
Perfect. No, it was great being here. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. So Andrew and I will be back. Hopefully, Andrew will be healthy enough next Monday. We'll be back. So we're Monday, 1 o'clock every week. Looking forward to seeing you guys in the next one.